Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be on how I grow my Hoyas. So I have a large collection of orchids, but about 20% of my collection, I'd say right now, are Hoyas. I have 2 shelves full of them and I have them hanging all over my apartment. And I'm going to show you how I grow them, what I like about them. They're pretty easy to grow. In fact, I find them easier to grow than orchids. And I'm going to share my experience with them and why I like them so much. So let's jump right in. So Hoyas are also known as wax plants, and they're vining plants, and they flower as well. They have little peduncles that flower, and they're fragrant. So I feel like they bring a lot of orchid growers because of that. They also have flowers. The flowers are different, but they also smell good, which is really nice. I started out with a couple because some friends had Hoyas and I said I'd never get into the rabbit hole. And then I grew them, I found them easy to grow, and I kept growing them. So I probably have maybe 40 or 50 now. I'm not going to expand further. They grow very quickly, but they're vining plants. So that means that they're just, instead of orchids, they tend to grow outward at different structures. Hoyas, they vine. So you could either grow them hanging or you can trellis them. Because I have them on shelves, I end up trellising them. Some I let hang, but over time, some of them get too long. So I end up wrapping them on a trellis or something like that. So they're easy. So just like orchids, they need bright indirect light in order to bloom. Some of them can get away with like lower light conditions, but they won't bloom. So if you want blooms, you have to give them nice bright indirect light. East facing window is good. West facing window might be too much. If you live in the United States or the Northern Hemisphere, a south facing window is great, provided you have a sheer curtain, and vice versa if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. The more light, the better, but you want to filter that light. You don't want to give it too much bright afternoon sun, or it'll scorch the leaves, similar to orchids. In terms of the soil or the potting media that I use, I have most of them in leca, and leca works really well. I end up even propagating them in leca, so I had a viewer who actually sent me a bunch of Hoyas because I sent him some orchids, and that's how I got started. He sent me, that's how I started expanding my Hoya collection. He sent me a few clippings. You just have to send like a few leaves. And I just threw them in leca, and some of them just started rooting immediately. It was very fast. So you could propagate them pretty easily. I ended up growing most of them in leca, so most of my Hoyas are over there. Most of them are in leca. I find that a lot of them are very happy in leca. I have some of them in potting mix. Most of the time you'll get them in potting mix. A succulent mix or something that's well draining is good. You don't want something too heavy. What I like about the leca is that it stays humid. I use like a self-watering leca setup with leca with like a little wick that brings water up. That works beautifully for them. I grow my pubic calyx that way, my Hoya carnosa, almost all of them. I was growing my Hoya bella like that, but it's so thirsty that I ended up moving it to soil. That way I could control the moisture that it got. But you kind of learn as you go what works for your Hoyas and what doesn't. In terms of watering, if you're using like a succulent mix or something like that, you don't want to water super often. You want to water it, and then you want to wait until it's mostly dry. So you want the first 2 or 3 inches or so of the soil to be dry, and then you can water it again. In the spring and summer, you obviously water it more. In the winter and fall, you water it less. You could also play with the leaves. So it's a wax plant. And when it's ready to be watered, the leaves are like very bendy sometimes. And if it is hydrated, the leaves are very thick and succulent-like. So that's when you don't water. In contrast with orchids, I feel like orchids, they're also sensitive to too much water, but they need a lot more air. Hoyas don't need as much air like that, but they also don't want to be drowned. In terms of the humidity and the temperatures, they're tropical plants, so you want to keep them above 60 degrees or Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. If you grow them indoors, that's easy to do. If you grow them outdoors, you don't want them outside in the cold. But they also like it pretty humid, so it's recommended that they get 50 to 60% humidity. But again, if you're growing indoors, you're not really going to get that depending on where you live. So I like to mist the collection. I do that every morning. And then what I end up doing is sometimes, like right now, the humidity is 26%. It's low. The Hoyas are just fine. They can handle low humidity provided you're watering frequently enough. And I just find whenever there's a humidity recommendation, as long as you're watering your plants, it's fine. You want to make sure that the roots get enough moisture. They grow even better with more humidity, but it's not crucial. Fertilizer, super easy. I just use my same orchid fertilizer. I use MSU fertilizer. You want to fertilize typically in the spring and summer. You taper back in the fall and winter. When you're not seeing them really grow, you don't have to fertilize them. When you start seeing them take off, mine are starting to take off right now. They start in the spring. That's when you start fertilizing a lot more heavily. They really like the heat for me. Not all of them. There's a bunch of different kinds of Hoyas. I'm still learning about them myself, but a lot of them, they push out a huge growth spurt for me in the summer. And when it's really hot, a lot of them, they really seem to like it. I get vines everywhere. I have to re-trellis them. They start blooming a lot. So I find them really easy. The blooms are beautiful. What I like about them is that they're fragrant, as I mentioned. I have the Hoya carnosa. I have one here hanging off the top of the shelf. And then I have a Hoya carnosa in my bedroom as well. It's got 3 peduncles right now, 3 or 4, and one of them is blooming right now. And it smells like Tootsie Rolls. So initially I thought it smelled a little bit like grapes. And then someone said it smelled like Tootsie Rolls, and then I couldn't unsmell it. So it travels as well. So these plants are really nice. Once they start blooming, they bloom again. Sometimes they bloom from the same peduncles. Like I have my Croniana Super Silver that's constantly blooming. It's constantly re-blooming, and the fragrance is really strong. Now, not everybody likes the fragrance on all of them. I do. I don't have any issues, but the Croniana Super Silver, someone said it smells like old lady perfume. I think it's kind of nice, and even when it's blooming in here, I sometimes smell it in my living room, in my bedroom, in my office. Like it's kind of like travels, which is pretty cool. And it's not only fragrant during the day, sometimes they're fragrant at night, which is really cool. There's the Hoya Bella. That one for me smells like sunscreen, like a strong sunscreen. So that one's pretty cool. That one is easy to grow, but you have to water it. That one requires a lot of moisture. What else? Lacunosa looks a lot like Croniana. The Hoya numeroides also smells really good. The fragrance isn't coming to my mind right now. It's not blooming at the moment, but that one's wonderful. I have a lot of others that I haven't bloomed yet. I have the Hoya sigillatus that I haven't bloomed yet. The Rangsan. Speaking of those, Hoyas have beautiful foliage as well. It's not about the flowers. It's also about the leaves. So you can grow a lot of these, and you don't even need the bloom. Some of them are just gorgeous for the foliage. So a lot of them are splashy. A lot of them are silver. A lot of them are very unique. Some of them are small leafed. Some of them are big leafed. If you guys are more interested in this sort of content, let me know and I'll make more videos on them. My collection is big enough where I feel like I could start separating between like the big leaves and the small leaves and doing more of that. But yeah, you can grow them, like I said, not only on the shelves, trellised up, but you could also hang them on windows, hanging down. I have the Hoya Shepardii. That one smells like baby powder to me, and that one looks like green beans. So I think they're pretty cool. I think my favorite thing about them is the blooms are fragrant usually, but also some of them have really cool variegated leaves. They're not, sometimes Hoyas are expensive, but it doesn't make any sense to me because I feel like if you have one, they're super easy to propagate. I like to, because they grow so fast, because they grow so big, I'm constantly giving away and plant swaps to friends, that sort of thing. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're interested in Hoyas, and I will make more content for it. I know this is mostly an orchid channel, but I do want to show some of the other plants that I like as well. And I love them again because they are also flowering plants and they take pretty much the same care, the same fertilizer, and I treat them the same, honestly. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.